podcast, The 313 Men, Money, and Marriage. And in this particular podcast, we're going to be doing something a little different, something that we normally don't do. And we're going to be sort of talking about the movie Divorce in the Black, the Tyler Perry film. And I'm going to have 3 guests on. But this is just a preview. The show, we're going to do this. This is going to be on YouTube Live. The YouTube channel is called The Men, Money, and Marriage Hour. So if you just go to YouTube and type that in, The Men, Money, and Marriage Hour, we will start streaming live at 8 o'clock Eastern Time. It'll be myself, Ellen Sudderth, and 2 other guests, and we will discuss and talk about the movie. Now, Ellen, you're here. We're just doing this preview. We're going to be talking about it. The first question I just want to ask you right off the bat, what made you want to talk about, doing a talk on a movie like this?
I thought this movie, because some of us, meaning our culture, Black people, they had a hard time digesting this. They didn't like it. And so because others didn't like it, I didn't want to digest their feelings. So I said, well, let me see this. And I feel that this is a masterpiece. And I just was very inquisitive to what they were seeing, or in my words, didn't want to see.
Yeah, you think it might have brought up some bad memories from, certain people's childhoods, and things to that effect, to where they might have been turned off by it because of that, or just the content of the movie might have been an issue?
I think the content might have been an issue, but I also think that we as people of color don't face our traumas, because this was very traumatic.
I agree with that. And, we're going to get into all of that tonight. The areas we're going to be talking about, we're going to be covering, basically some of the sensitive issues that resonate within the Black community pertaining to divorces. We're going to talk about that very first scene in the movie, which had a lot of people, I guess I won't use the word upset, but we're very, we're okay. It looks like we lost. There you go. You came back. Okay. That were a little bit upset with the content of it. So, but it would, what they were actually doing in that first scene.
Yes. And
so we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about some of the stigmas surrounding divorce, in the African American community, because, a good, strong marriage in our communities is viewed as it's a stable, stable piece in our community. And the other areas we want to discuss about some of the older generations versus the younger generations, and how they look at marriage, basically. Some of the older generations versus the younger generations, on how they look at it. And then how children are affected. How are the children affected by divorce? Especially one, in this particular situation, there wasn't any children involved. But such a tumultuous divorce like this, if there were children involved, how would that affect? Yeah, how would that affect the childhood of children? We want to get into some of those areas. But one thing I want to do, Ellen, real quick before we, go and we're talking about this, is could you just talk about the other 2 guests who are going to be coming on with us tonight?
Sure. We're going to, Wendy Arced, she's in our book club. I have a book club, ESP Presents. And also April Jim Thomas, she is an author. So those are the dynamics of those 2. Wendy, she's a content creator. She has a lot of hats. So Wendy, she'll be here with us. A long time friend.
Okay, so you've known them for a while. Both of the 2 guests on there. And the one other area I just want to talk about is, well, I'm going to save this question I'm going to save a couple of these questions for the live stream. Yes. But there's a couple that I want to. I have 2 or 3 extra questions that I might throw your way. But I'll tease at one here.
Yes.
Okay, you ready? I'm going to tease you at one. How does a woman, now obviously Megan Good is this very beautiful, attractive woman. She's an actress. So But we're not talking about actresses. We're talking about women that we, kind of grew up with and know. How do they end up marrying someone like Dallas? Because men want to know this question. What is it that they would see in someone like that?
I would say, what is it that they don't see? And
Mm,
sometimes, and I can't speak in totality, sometimes a woman may feel that's what she can get. That is, she want a tier guy, but she starts there. Some women might like a little edge because when she gets that tier guy, he's boring. And that's all I'll say with that.
okay. So you think it has to do more with a level of excitement
Yeah, they definitely
versus,
want excitement.
right. And so that would be a reason why they would want, and the reason why is the danger, the risk that we see women sometimes end up in pertaining to domestic violence. The risk of it can be, it could be tumultuous. I mean, when I say the risk, I mean it could lead to, someone losing their lives for
Yes.
the quote unquote excitement, and
So true.
so, and it happens, and this happens quite a bit because this movie actually has several layers to it. Obviously, it's divorce, but there's also abuse in the movie. It's not just physical, but it's also verbal and emotional abuse. So, I don't know if people, when they first, get on and they meet somebody, they'll, generally abusers will put their best foot forward until they feel like they have you on lock, and then they go into abuse mode.
Hmm.
But in this situation, she kind of, I guess, knew the dynamics of the family.
Hmm.
And so that's what I want to get into with you and the other two guests is how you end up in these relationships in the first place, before we even get to that point.
One thing I want to add before we go right in the area that we're talking about, how when we, and I'm like I always say, not in totality that I'm speaking for women, but it was familiar. And we always, as women in general, maybe in totality, if we confessed, we want to fix somebody. And that's what Ava did. She wanted to fix him.
That makes sense. And and I think that happens quite a bit when you'll see women who will get with a guy who's, rough around the edges and they think that they can get him on track,
Hmm.
by, being in his orbit or whatever, and trying to slowly but over the course of time soften them a little bit,
True.
so that they're not so not having as many issues as that they're currently having. And that this happens quite a bit, but I think the one of the difficult parts to that is that how women sometimes don't realize that there's not going to be much that they'll be able to do because some people, they're not professionals,
So
so they
true.
can't just because they're a good person doesn't mean that they are going to be able to fix or solve that person, be able to fix that person's problems or different things like that. So in my opinion, I think they are making a mistake when they go and try and do that, because some people need healing, and
Yes.
once in a blue moon a woman can turn a guy's life around.
Hmm.
And what happens is when other women see that, they use that anecdotal evidence as a way to say, hey, I can do that too. If she did it, so can I.
Yes.
And so
Yes.
I always thought that that's what gets some women in trouble. I'll say that, or because what happens is those good years of her life, she will have some issues that might pop up, and during that period of time, and then when she gets out of that relationship, she's bringing that trauma. She's bringing that trauma to the next relationship.
True.
And we'll, I sort of end on this. I've said this to you before, Ellen, but not necessarily to the audience that'll be watching, but I always say that when women get out of a tumultuous relationship, an abusive relationship or anything, they're starting their new relationship where they left off. And a man generally can erase it. Even if he was in a sort of a bad relationship, can start anew, meaning he'll start from scratch and just, so the woman has to work her way down to get to a point where she can meet the new person that's in her life. It can balance itself out.
So
what
true.
do you think? What do you think about that?
I think that is true because we tend to have this familiar thing where we left off at. So we're waiting for him to break. Okay, he's nice. He's opened the doors. When is he going to break? Okay, he did this. He did that. When is he going to break? Because we came from here and we know at some point this can't be true. Or maybe we feel like in general that it's not time yet for that person to give us his best because we're not ready. The timing is all off.
Yeah, that's true. And I always say that timing plays a big role in whether or not success or fail of a relationship, especially because people have to be in the right place in order to receive, the new person. And, when you were saying that, it just reminded me of something. You know how some people will engage in, they'll be in a good relationship and they'll start to engage in self-sabotage.
Yes.
To destroy it because they're saying none of my other relationships were like this. So something's got to be wrong.
Yes.
So if something's got to be wrong, nothing's happening. Let me start to mess this up a little bit just to see. So I can go, you see, I told you so.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So, yeah. So that's what we're going to be discussing tonight. It will be on YouTube at 8:00 Eastern time. So if you want to come check us out, feel free. Like I said, it'd be myself, Ellen, and two other guests, Wendy and April, will be joining us. April Thomas and Wendy Arced will be joining us tonight at 8 Eastern time. We will have this conversation and we will discuss what we just talked about earlier pertaining to how divorce, affects our communities and, some of the other impacts that it might have. And so, Ellen, thank you for coming up and let's doing this little preview just to let the audience know what's going on. And we will definitely I'm looking forward to this, because I think if we can get a good hour in of discussion talking about this subject matter. Yeah, I think we can get it, yeah. Normally my podcasts don't run that long, but I think in this particular situation, we can go 45 minutes to an hour discussing this. I think we can solve some problems here.
Yes, looking forward.
All right, Ellen, thank you for coming on. And what we're going to do is, like I said, join us tonight at 8 p.m. Eastern time, and we will see you then.
Thank you. Bye-bye.